Today is May 19th, 2022. It is a Thursday. It is also day 305 of data science. And today I'm going to try to focus on the figure in Matplotlib and also, just the figure in Matplotlib, because if you look back at day 304, I was focusing more on the graphing of the axes. By the way, axes is just another term for graph or subplot in Matplotlib, or in Python in this case. In Python generally, but in Matplotlib in this case. So you can see we plotted multiple subplots or graphs or axes, whatever you want to call it, but I didn't really focus on the figure itself, which is the white box in which these graphs are plotted. So I'm going to try to just explore a few attributes or a few methods that kind of involve that. So I'm going to start by just plotting two simple graphs. So I guess I'll just make my own data. The way I'll do this is I could do a normal distribution. That's too complicated. Okay, I'll just write a function real quick that gives me a random list of values. So then these values, I'm just going to plot them. I'm going to plot a histogram, and it's going to just show me basically the distribution of these values all together. So let's say I want to just have a random list of grades, and I wanted the grades to start at some point, and at some point, and then I want a certain amount of grades, so I'm going to do that as size. So then I'm going to import random, right, because I want to use, I mean, yes, I guess, but I would do random.randint, and what this function does is it takes two parameters. So it takes the start and end, but it doesn't take a size. So for example, if I were to really quickly show you what this would do, and I were to put from 1 to 10, what it's going to do is going to give me a random number from 1 to 10. 1 second, let me import random here because I didn't run it. So what that's going to do is give me a random number from 1 to 10, but it's only going to give me one random number. And I want there to be a whole list of random numbers so that I can plot the distribution of that list, right? So what I do here is I take the start, I take the end, right? And then I'm going to do a for loop. So for I in range size, what I'll do is I'll do an empty list. Actually, you know what? For I in range size, random.randint, so tab, and then I'm going to set this equal to an n, and then I'll do n.append list, and so I'll set the list here to an empty list, and so I think that should work. So we have an empty list for item, or for I in range size, so whatever, how many times you want this to happen, there's going to be a random number generated from between 2 points, so a start point and an end point. That number is going to become n, and n will be appended to list for the amount of time that you specify in size. And so then in the function we'll return the list. So I think that should work. So let's do random list of grades. So let's say grades usually start with 0, they end at 100, and let's say I have a class of 24 students. And so if I ran, actually that's not going to run because I have to print out the actual result. So let's look at this. What's the issue now? Integer object has no attribute append. So n.append, it's supposed to be list.append n. Okay, so we take the list and we are appending n for, and then this is repeated however many times we specify. So we specified 24 times. So this lines 8 and 9 were repeated 24 times. And so here is our random list of grades, which I think is pretty cool. And what we can do is we can instead of printing it, let's just set it equal to, let's say, class A, and set that equal to that. And we could do the same thing for class B. And let's say class B has, 31 students. And so it's going to just give us basically a list of grades for class A and a list of grades for class B, okay? So if we run that, it's going to give us nothing because we just set those lists to a variable. So now what we can do, though, is we can plot it. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. And so we already imported Matplotlib. Well, this is kind of what we needed for over here. So let me put it over here. So we start off with plt.subplots, which is a function from Matplotlib, which allows us to make a figure and have graphs in that figure. So it has 3 main parameters. It has more parameters, but I just like to say 3. So it has a number of rows. So I want 1 row. And then it has a number of columns. So in columns, I want 2 columns because I want 2 graphs. And then it allows you to pass in the fig size. So how do you want its size? So it starts with like X and Y. So basically the width and then the length. So let's say I want it like 10 in the length and then, 10 for the width and then maybe like 4 for the length. Yeah, let's see if that works out. So what that's going to give us, actually, if we run that, it's going to give us a figure size, and it tells you the relative size in pixels, I believe, and it tells you how many axes there are. So axes are another word for graphs or subplots. So we have 2 axes, and you can see that there. And here's how we target those axes. So the way we do this is, because it returns this, we can simply go over here and say fig or figure, whatever variable you want to call it, and that's going to be equal to the first thing that's returned here. So here, figure size is returned, and then 2 axes are returned. And so if you set figure over here, this is going to be equal to the figure, and so we can use that to control the figure, and then you can set your 2 axes equal to whatever you want. So some people do AX1 or AX and then AX2. I like to do graph 1 and graph 2 because it just makes much more intuitive sense. And the syntax over here, whoops, okay, hold on. And you set it equal to, by the way, because, yeah. So the syntax over here, the outside parentheses is just syntax, but everything inside, each parenthesis, pair of parentheses inside represents a row. So anything that's inside these parentheses represents 1 row. So graph 1 and graph 2 are in 1 row, are in the same row. Why? Because they're in the same parentheses separated by a comma. If I had another row, then I would just say comma and then put, like, let's say graph 3 and then graph 4, and then as you can see, this first pair of parentheses represents 1 row, and this represents a second row. But we don't have that. We just have 1 row. So I'm going to leave it as that, just an FYI. So now if we run that, it's just going to set a figure equal to our figure and our axes equal to our axes. And obviously we have what it's looking at now. So at this point, we want to basically plot a histogram of this data. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do hisplot, right? So I'm going to do seaborn.hisplot, which is going to plot me a histogram, and I'm just going to take class A and I'm going to run that. Now that's going to give me just a histogram in general. If I were to do this, hold on. This is because I added a figure and now my thing is frozen. Okay, code. Okay, I need it now. All right, if I were to just do that here, it would just plot the histogram randomly there. But because I set a figure in a graph 1 and a graph 2, it's going to plot it in somewhere here randomly. But what if we want to specify where to plot it? Let's say I want it to be, obviously, if it's class A, maybe I want it to be the first distribution I see. So luckily for us, Seaborn has this parameter called AX, which sounds familiar because, again, if you do this real quick and you run it, you can see that it returns to you a figure size with however many axes you specified, okay? So it returns to you 2 axes. And so basically what that's saying, an ax is your graph. So let's say the first axes would be obviously the first variable that you set it equal to. So graph 1 is equal to your first axis, to your first graph, right? And so if I want it to be in graph 1, then all I have to do is set the axes to be graph 1. So you're telling, hey, Seaborn, I want this histogram of class A grades to be plotted in graph 1. So if I run that, it's going to end up in graph 1, okay? And then if you want to do graph class B grades, then just do class B and then tell it, hey, hey Seaborn, I want this histogram of class B grades to be plotted in graph 2, not graph 12. Run that, graph 2, and it should be plotted in graph 2. Now, let's say you want to add a title, so I'll do specifically you'll have to target graph 1 dot set title, which is a little different from your usual PLT dot title, and you'll just say your distribution of class A grades, and hopefully I spelled that right. If not, then oh well. And then you just want to kind of copy that and just do the same thing for graph 2. So let me just also do that. Whoops, what the heck? Okay, graph 2 and then class B. And then you can run that and graph 2 dot set title. And it should give you distribution of class A grades and distribution of class B grades. Okay, and that's basically the basics of plotting graphs given like your own data. You could also do this with pandas. If you have your own data frame, you can simply just target, use bracket notation or dot notation to plot the column of data that you want, and just put it in here in replacement of class B or whatever you want. Let's see what other thing. Oh, if you have, for example, random thing that I just came across a few days ago, if you have like something like, let's say you want to plot a normal distribution and you're using like NumPy and you're using like linspace and then you're using Matplotlib's plot function to plot the function, well, you can't really do anything with that. Like you can't say plt.plot and then ax is equal to, like plot doesn't have that parameter, so that presents a problem because you can't localize or position that plot anywhere in your graph. So instead of doing dot plot, you simply just directly say, okay, graph 1 dot plot, and I want it equal to whatever I want plotted. So like let's say it was class A. Actually, let's see what that looks like. Yeah, so dot plot is usually like a line graph, but yeah, so you can clearly see that that works, but you can't say plt.plot class A because then like it's just really weird and you can't tell it where to go because there is no axes parameter. Like let's say if I say axes like graph 1, it's not going to work because it's going to tell me that I don't have that parameter in plt.plot. If it wants to run, you know, like this thing just takes its time. So it's going to tell me line 2D object has no property ax, right? So obviously that's a problem and you can't do that. So that's why you have to directly say, okay, graph1.plot and whatever. So that's one little trick I had learned. Anything else? Okay, now that we have our two simple graphs, I'm going to start kind of focusing on the figure. Let's see. So I think we've already, I always keep speaking in second person. Oh my God, I remember I've been saying like this entire time third person, but third person is like she, he, like I'm saying we, like I've been saying like, you know what, never mind. It's second person, sorry. Okay. What was I even saying? Oh my God, her dress is so pretty. Not me looking at Instagram prom pictures. Okay, sorry, put your phone away. Okay. All right, so where were we? See, if I just paid attention for once to my own things. Okay, so I kid you not, I have no idea what I'm gonna do. Okay, oh yeah, okay. So basically, we already, I think in day 304, we tried one out. By we, I literally just mean me. See, nice. Okay, anyway, so fig type layout. So this was one figure. Can you call it method? Function. Yeah, this is one figure function that basically well, essentially it just makes spaces. It kind of just like evens out your graphs. So like if I were to delete this, right, it's actually going to look really bad. You're going to see it's going to overlap, right? So you can see that, whoa, what is this? No. And now it's frozen. Great. Okay, weird. Anyway, it is very close together, but here's the thing. I guess it's because I need to like have this in a new notebook and then would actually show the actual result. But before I added fig type layout, it actually was like the title of like, let's say distribution of class D was like over 40, 60, and 80. So it would just be overlapping each other. And so figure type layout would kind of just space everything out and it would make it even prettier. So see, like it makes it, okay, I think it also adjusts like the fig size, which I think is pretty cool. I just really love it. So it's like really nice. So that's one that we figured out. So I'm going to use that one today. And then I think on day 130 something, I also used to add some, I don't even know, I don't think I ever found it when I was looking for it yesterday, but whatever, it doesn't matter. So fig tight layout, and then that should kind of even things out, right? And yeah, that's pretty much that. And then there's also like changing the color of the figure. So fig tight layout basically evens out the graph, makes it look a little bit more even. Evens, that's not a sentence, that's not a word actually. Evens out, that's literally not a sentence. Okay, and then fig dot, I think I used it in an earlier day when I was trying to download my graphs to put them as a thumbnail. I think I had set the color to white, but of course you're not even going to notice because it's already white. It's just so that it wouldn't be transparent. Where is it? Day 299. I think it's over here. Yeah, fig patch dot set face color. So what I find so interesting is this patch thing. Like, oh my god, they're just, I don't know how I did. Like, I kid you not, learning all of this has been it's been really fun, but like so tedious sometimes. Like I literally get so lost because I had no idea what axes, what graphs, what fixed size were. Like, to understand the concept of this, it was so hard for me to understand, like, what's the difference between a figure and axes. Like, I was literally so lost. But yeah, anyway, the figure I'll show you literally right now by showing you, like, a visual thing. Let's say I do blue. The blue is the figure. The figure is basically the background where you're putting your graphs in. So your graphs or your axes or your subplots, however you want to call them, Python refers to them as axes, are your subplots. They're the individual graphs, like distribution of class A grades and distribution of class B grades. You know, those are your distributions. Those are your axes, your subgraphs or subplots. But essentially the figure is the blue background or the red background, whatever color we want it to be. Oh my god, now that we have colors, is there any way I can do a hex color? Would it let me do a hex color? I would love that. Let me see 1 second. Okay. Ooh, okay. We could do this one. Oops. Where am I? Okay, data science. Hopefully, please let me do hex color. Oh, it doesn't take invalid RGBA. Oh, so it takes RGBA. Okay, so I need the RGBA. How do I get Prisma RGB? Really? 5880-107 right here. Where are we? Maybe that would work? But it says RGB. Ugh, so mean. Okay. How to set figure face color with hex code. No, not a subplot. Okay, why patch, everything patch. So we have patch. Oh, you just put in the hex code. Did I delete it? Okay, so let me copy this again, go back to data science, and apparently you just delete this. And then you just put in the hex code, and then it should appear like that color. Nice, that's really beautiful. Okay, so then this is doing it by hex. So let me actually go back then. So if this is by hex, right? And then what the heck does this mean? Xkcd? Is that like what? ABC? Like what? What? See, I'm sure that's not what it means, but I'm having fun. Are you kidding me right now? What does this even mean? Are you kidding? What? But what does Python have to do with this? Yes, please, like, what is this? Turn on whatever sketch style drawing mode. Oh my god. Interesting. Interesting. Wow, this function works by number of RC. Oh my god, here's another one of those. RC params and patch. Like, I have no idea what those things mean. So it will probably override others you have said before. If you want the effects to be temporary, you could use this context manager, for example, with PLT. No, thank you. Interesting. So it's kind of like a drawing sketch thing. That's so interesting. So turn on Xkcd sketch style drawing mode. This will only have effect on things drawn after this. So basically, it's so interesting. Oh wow. I think it's related to the webcomic. Maybe it's like the same person. Like, I think that's really amazing. Well, it would make sense, you know, to have something like that. So wait. Like, why is data science all the way over there? I think that's great. So, wow. So Xkcd is a sketch drawing style, apparently. And so whatever color, you could just call a color and it'll give it to you. Obviously it's not gonna give it to you now because I have something that overwrites it, but you know, white. And if, let's say I want to do like, is peach a color? Let's see if they have it. Oh, nice. Okay, so peach, it works, right? So that works. This also works here. Let me go back to palette generator and try to find like a nice, like, lighter color. Okay, I guess. So that's good. So Xkcd. So if someone were to ask me, hey, what is Xkcd? Like, why do we need to have it here before we... Oh my god, it's actually giving CSS property and then value. I like to think of everything as properties and values. Like, I literally have been doing so much web development that I've been thinking as these as properties, as CSS properties. Like, as I style these, I'm like, is this a property or a method? I'm like, what, Sarai? How do you get those two confused? Come on. So yeah, no. Well, I probably got you confused now. Not that anybody watches this, but still, future me, right? Okay. What was I even saying? Okay, so you set the face color Xkcd, which is a sketch styling thing, so I'm assuming that it's kind of like an external thing that Python uses to do things, I guess, and that you need it in order to style, and so it allows us to set the color of the figure. Okay. And then you could do the same thing if you just put in the hex code. And then my question is, how do I do RGBA? or RGB, honestly. So if I were to do RGB, if I were to take this color and I would just click on it and click on, where is it, the RGB, and I'll select it. How would I do that one? Would I just, where is my stuff? Okay. So would I just do fig patch dot set face color and then just paste it, well, obviously paste it in there. Maybe that would work, maybe not, maybe yes, maybe no. So basically, okay, where was I? So it's not working, so let's search it up. How to add RGB to figure face color. Oops. To change the background level, face color, specifying colors. Does it even have that option, honestly? Ooh, we can add a subplot. That's nice. That's a new one. Red does not work with PLT. Interesting. Save fig. So it's probably fig to get an easier way to start just one instead of putting it every time. Ew, I don't like RC params. It's a word that, well, I had the same feeling with axes and figure, so I guess things change. Yeah, but how do you do RGB? What if I want to do RGB, like blah 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 blah. Oh my god. Blah 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 blah. Is anybody gonna give me an answer? Face color yellow. So then why in the world do we need to use, where is it? Okay, let me delete this, right? It literally just said that I could do yellow. Does this work? If I were to just comment this out. Oh my god, it does work. So why in the world do we need XCs, whatever, blah, blah, blah? Like, what's the purpose of that? Does it come with different settings that we could use? Interesting. But, like, very interesting. So there's another way we could do this, apparently, and it's just... that way. Whoops. Anyway. Okay, where do we set face color violet? Okay, but what if I want to do an RGB, like, literally, like, what's wrong with this thing? Figure. Oh, that's an interesting way to do it. So we could also do a PLT.figure. Face color is equal to yellow. But wait, that doesn't make sense because that's not the same. Because we're creating a new figure. That's, yeah, okay. Let's see. Ooh, they use another way to create X values. Well, this didn't help. What I could do though, what time is it? Okay, it's 10. Let me just explore a few more things. So let's say I want to change the color. You know what? I said I was going to focus on the graph, but we can just focus on generally customizing these, everything, the figure and the subplot. So graph 1, face color, maybe this would work as, if I do a horrible color. Well, not horrible, it's just not matching. Would this work or would it not? So what's the issue now? Peach, interesting. Interesting. So this works, right? And then this would work. But then this doesn't work. So, oh, interesting. Oh my god. So what I'm assuming from this, what I'm understanding is that if you do not use Xkcd, there are certain colors that are not going to be available to you. But for example, like normal, you know, your regular colors like yellow, red, I'm assuming are going to be available to you. But a color like peach, that's something that's like not like a color that, you know, people use of like everyday, whatever, like, you know, rainbow, whatever. I guess you'd need to have this thing here, question mark. And again, Xkcd is a sketch drawing thingy style, I guess, that they're importing or using as an external source. I don't know how this works. I just know that, okay, now this does work. Okay. All right. So we learned how to do it by hex, the figure, right? And then by, this did not work. Hold on. Did it work? Well, this didn't work either. Right, so let me do that. Okay. And graph1.face color is probably wrong. So is this set? Wait, where am I going? Graph1.set face color to purple. Okay, so figure that one out. How do we change the color of the axes? I'm pretty sure that has to do with RC params, because every time I had to do, oh my god, this is so irritating, because how are you supposed to know the difference? Like when I'm talking about like Y and X axes and then the actual graphs axes. Well, I don't even know what to say. Could you not? I don't know. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, wow, her dress is so pretty. Okay, anyway. Where was I? Yeah, how do I change, just a few more things, and then we'll go and move on to other things. How to change color of Y and X axes in Matplotlib. Or maybe I should have done Y and X labels, because I need them to be white. So, PLT to figure, blah, blah, blah. Oh, here we go. I knew it was params. It always has to do with params. So irritating. All right. So it says x.x-axis label dot set color yellow. That's not what I want, though. I need the ticks, which are the, well, not the, interesting. So graph1.tick params, and then it can be like axes, whatever, and colors, whatever. So I'll do that. So graph1, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, graphs. Okay, now it's frozen. Oh my god, any day now would be great. Okay, graph1.tick param, probably spelled that wrong. Okay, now my entire thing is frozen. This is great. That's not what I said. Are you kidding? Okay, graph1.tick param, and then, okay, axes Y question mark, colors whites question mark. Probably should have put that in. What if there's multiple axes? Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to go back to my color palette generator, and I'm going to get this really beautiful, nice color. And I'm going to set it as a background as I wanted to originally. So I'm going to do copy that, and then I'll do oh, but that doesn't, actually, yeah, it does make sense. Patch.set face color. So what I want to do right now is try to figure out what in the world is patch. Can like someone tell me? Because I would love to know. So see, we're kind of figuring things out as we go. So then this is one thing, right? So this is our actual graph stuff that we're working with. And then I'll do this again and then do it for X and then change it for that. This should be F here, figure on that. This is essentially what we're running here. And then I'm going to go and change this to, let's say, something like white. Or maybe transparent. Actually, I'll change it to the same color as I had graph. So it's kind of like transparent in that sense. Oh, and then I know how to, I've removed the top like line. I think you call them like line end. I don't even remember honestly. So that's one thing. Maybe in the graph itself we can change the colors of the graphs. So maybe I'll change it to this color. I'll go here to the graph 1. And I'm not sure, is it colors or is it like palette? Or maybe it's just color. Let's see how that goes. Hopefully it doesn't give me an error. Let's see, it works. Okay. And then I'll do the same for graph 2. These colors probably don't go together. Probably should have done white. Or maybe not. I don't know. Oh, and here we go. Frozen again, as always. So I'll just take all of this and just change it to 1 to 2. I don't think we need this because that's a general thing. Run that, and it should be prettier. Graph 2 dot set face color. Thank you very much. That should work. What am I missing? So we have over here. So the color also needs to be the same over here. So if we run that, it's gonna look quite the same. And then we have the actual labels that we have to work with. So for graph 1 dot set, maybe, no, that's gonna set my labels. Oh, here is the spines, that's what it was. Okay. Alright, where was I? So I have the X and Y labels already set, but not really. X-axis dot label dot set color. So I guess this is what we do. I'm just gonna copy it for now because I'm tired now and I want to go to sleep. So, and I still have other things to do, which is amazing. Great. Okay. And this thing is frozen. Like, oh my god, Jesus Christ. Okay, paste that in there. And instead of AX, I'm gonna do graph 1. And then I think I'm gonna just do white. And then do the same for the y-axis. And do the same over here for graph 2. And take this one over here, copy and paste it, and just change graph 2. And then it should be white. Or not. Oh, yes it is. Yes. I just don't see graph. Oh, because I never gave it I never set it. Wow, so smart. I never actually even gave it an X label, so that's great of me to do, or not to do in this case. So graph 1 dot set X label 2. Grades, man, I don't know. Same thing to graph 2. Okay, there we go. Now you can see that. And then last thing is the title. So I'm assuming it's the same thing. So I would just do, let's see, graph 1 dot maybe title. Let's just guess and see if that works. Oh, would you look at that? It does work. See, if you guess sometimes, you know, it's successful. Okay, so now we have everything pretty much going for us. Only thing is that I don't like the spines, and so the way that I can fix that, the spines are basically the lines, like the border of the graph. I've done it before, but I see that they do it over here. I'm just gonna copy this. And I'm just gonna do that. So I'll do graph 1 dot spines, and I don't want the right one, and I don't want the top one. Any day now would be great. Let me just copy and paste it like 4 times. Oh, great. Would you look at that? Can't even do that. Alright, so then I'll do graph 2 over here, graph 2, and instead I think I'll do none. 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 Or maybe if that doesn't work, then I'll just change to the same color as the background so that it looks like there is no color for that border. So, so it's right, and then top, and then right, and then top, and then it should disappear. Okay, so that worked. Is there anything else that I'm missing? I think that's it. It's looking a little bit fine. What if I wanted to delete actually? Let's say I wanted to delete graph1.spines left and then also bottom. Let me just see how that looks like for a second. Yeah, that's fine. I'll just leave it as it is. Alright, and then possibly, is there any way to change the color of the spines? Am I dumb? I just did that. Jesus Christ, why am I like this? So let me just do something real quick. So spines, left and bottom, we'll do white, and then change this to graph 2, and then actually let me just change this stuff to where graph 1 is, so we know where everything is. So this is graph 1, this is all graph 2, and then run that. Whoops, let's go all the way back. Okay, and this is what we're ending up with. Nice. So yeah, I think this is good. Is there anything else that I would like to do? Well, this is part 1 because obviously we still haven't figured out some things, and there's a whole bunch more to this than just what we just did, and I also probably should explain what each function, like what each thing really is, and like go into more detail, but I want to get out of here right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and do exactly just that. Okay, so bye, have a great night or day, whatever, and have a nice life.